Marcus wiped his sweaty palms on his worn jeans for the third time, sitting alone at the corner table of an upscale restaurant he could barely afford. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? His sister had set up this blind date, insisting he needed to move on, that his daughter Emma deserved to see him happy again. He'd resisted for months, but her persistence had worn him down. Now, surrounded by crystal glasses and white tablecloths, he felt completely out of place. His construction worker's hands seemed too rough for this environment, his simple button-down shirt too plain among the designer suits around him. He checked his phone nervously, not for messages, but to see how much time remained before he could politely escape this mistake. Then she walked in. Victoria Chen commanded attention without trying, her tailored burgundy dress and confident stride turning heads across the room. As CEO of a major tech firm, she carried herself with the poise of someone who'd conquered boardrooms and business deals. Her heels clicked decisively against the marble floor as she approached, and Marcus stood awkwardly, suddenly conscious of the scuff marks on his only pair of dress shoes. Her handshake was firm, professional, almost cold. They sat in uncomfortable silence as the waiter poured water, each studying their menus like sacred texts. Marcus's eyes widened at the prices, mentally calculating how many overtime hours each entree represented. He ordered the cheapest pasta on the menu. Victoria ordered without looking at prices, her tone polite but distant. The conversation stumbled forward in fits and starts. He talked about his 7-year-old daughter, how she loved drawing and wanted to be an artist. Victoria nodded, mentioning quarterly earnings and expansion plans, before catching herself and apologizing for talking shop. The disconnect was palpable. Every topic felt like crossing a bridge that wasn't quite stable. He couldn't relate to her world of international travel and corporate strategy. She seemed genuinely confused when he mentioned choosing between paying the electric bill and buying Emma new shoes. The awkward pauses grew longer, heavier. Marcus was composing his exit speech mentally when something shifted. Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her perfectly composed expression cracked just slightly. Her hand trembled as she set the phone face down. Another buzz. Another crack in the facade. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, and Marcus noticed her eyes had become glassy. Then, to his complete shock, a tear rolled down her cheek, smudging the mascara she'd probably applied in some expensive office bathroom. She tried to wipe it discreetly, but more tears followed. The powerful CEO was crying at their table, and other diners were beginning to notice. Marcus sat frozen, uncertain whether to offer comfort or pretend he didn't see. Years of being Emma's father kicked in, and he gently pushed his water glass toward her, offering a clean napkin. Victoria took it, dabbing at her eyes, then laughed bitterly at herself. "This is mortifying," she whispered. "I don't do this. I don't break down in public." Marcus waited, sensing she needed to speak more than she needed his response. "That was my mother," Victoria continued, her voice cracking. "She asked if I was still alone, if I was still choosing work over family, if I was still too proud to admit I'm lonely." The words tumbled out now, unleashed by whatever dam had broken inside her. "Do you know what it's like to have everything people think they want and feel completely empty? I have a corner office with a view of the entire city, but I eat lunch alone every single day. I have a penthouse apartment that echoes because there's no one to talk to. I have a calendar filled with meetings, but not a single entry that says dinner with someone who cares." Marcus listened, his own defensive walls beginning to lower. Victoria looked at him with red-rimmed eyes, and what she said next struck him like a physical blow. "When they told me about you, about your situation, I almost cancelled. I thought, what could we possibly have in common? You're struggling to make ends meet, raising a child alone, probably looking for someone to solve your problems. I thought this would be a waste of my valuable time." She paused, fresh tears streaming down her face. "But sitting here looking at you talk about your daughter with such love, such pride despite having so little, I realized something devastating. You have everything that matters, and I have nothing. You're rich in all the ways that actually count, and I'm the one who's truly poor. The words hung between them, brutally honest and painfully raw. Marcus felt his heart break, not with anger, but with unexpected compassion. He'd expected judgment, perhaps pity, maybe even contempt. Instead, he was witnessing the complete unraveling of someone who'd built a fortress around her heart, only to discover she'd locked herself inside. "I spent 20 years climbing," Victoria continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I sacrificed relationships, friendships, family time. I told myself success would make me happy. But tonight, hearing you talk about reading bedtime stories and making pancakes for breakfast, I realized I can't remember the last time someone needed me for anything beyond a signature on a contract." Marcus reached across the table, his calloused hand covering her perfectly manicured one. "Victoria," he said gently, "you're not poor. You're just lost." She looked up at him, surprised by the kindness in his eyes. "And being lost isn't permanent. I was lost too after Emma's mom left. I thought I'd failed at everything that mattered. But my daughter taught me something important. Success isn't measured in dollars or titles. It's measured in moments. Small, ordinary moments that feel like nothing until you realize they're everything." They talked for 3 more hours, long after their food grew cold. Not a CEO and construction worker, not a successful woman and struggling man, but as 2 human beings who'd both learned painful lessons about what really matters. When they finally left the restaurant, neither knew if they'd see each other again romantically, but something had shifted in both of them. Victoria had been reminded that vulnerability isn't weakness. Marcus had learned that everyone carries invisible burdens, regardless of their bank balance. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit we're broken. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let someone else admit it too. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Your support helps us share more stories about real human connection, compassion, and the unexpected moments that change our lives forever.